Welcome back. It was one of the moments of the Olympics so far. Tom Pidcock recovered from a puncture to win gold in the men's cross-country mountain biking. As you can see, he is alongside us, gold medal and all. So let's just start by reflecting on that race, Tom, which I'm sure you've been asked about 10 million times since last week. Does how you reflect on it change, given that you've had a little bit of time to process everything?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's... Initially, I was just exhausted. You know, mentally, it was such a race. I didn't get to enjoy it, but yeah, now that I've had time to let it settle, if you like, it's definitely a big relief that I can, I feel much more relaxed. Obviously, but build up is a big thing, especially trying to defend. It's very different to going to your first games, I guess.
I was going to ask actually about the expectation of that. Perhaps a lot of people outside cycling heading into Tokyo wouldn't have known who Tom Pidcock was, and I guess you may, before the games in Paris, everyone comes up to you and says, "Well, I suppose you're going to get another one then, aren't you?"
Yeah, it's definitely a different almost sport when you're trying to defend the title. It's the pressure, the expectation, going in as favourite. You can only live up to expectation, really. You can't, and then if you fail, you fail. It's not like you can exceed everyone's expectations, do something special. Although I guess it made quite an exciting race when I punctured.
Is that why you did it? Just to keep everyone on their toes.
On their toes, yeah.
I guess you can't think of that when you talk about that fear of failure. Once you start the race, I imagine that goes out of the mind, doesn't it? It's maybe the weeks before where you're thinking about something.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. The wait is the worst thing about any big event that you've been building up to for a long time. The hours, and we were staying in the hotel, not Olympic Village, and it's just, waiting, then you're just waiting to go for a massage or waiting for lunch. It's just the next thing to keep you busy or distract you. And so, yeah, it's until you're actually on the start line and you go, then you're away, but until then it's just like, okay.
Are you at least a little bit glad that it was one of the first events, I think first Monday of the games, wasn't it?
Yeah.
At least you're not a marathon runner waiting until the last Sunday to get yourself going.
I guess it doesn't matter. It's your own schedule, and you can easily, distract yourself and not concentrate. Like, I didn't really watch anything before my race. I watched the women's race the day before, but that's the only thing of the games I watched.
Let's go to the race itself then, and the puncture, which when we talk about tactics or how you might go about a race, does that actually sort of bring a bit of clarity because you've got no choice but to go for it when you're so far back after a puncture?
Yeah, it's a really good way of putting it, actually. It's I know where everyone is then. I know what they've got. I know how fast they're going. Because at that point, I just opened the race up. I knew who'd come with me, where people were behind, and I knew then how far people were in front. So yeah, it's a good point. I knew exactly, I had numbers on what I needed to do to win.
Was there ever a moment where you thought, I'm too far gone here?
There was. After a lap, I made another mistake on the same place I punctured, and at that point I was thinking, right, okay, just concentrate, stay in the race. And also it was really hard to overtake because the bits where I could overtake was the bits where other riders were going full gas, and then the single track bits where you can't overtake, they were trying to recover. So I was not making any inroads into the lead. And then in the last 3 laps or so, it started falling into my lap a little bit.
Are you fully prepared that even when you're sort of old and grey and in a rocking chair, people will still be asking you to tell them about that overtake in Paris 2024?
Yeah, I think I wouldn't mind it. It's
not a bad story to tell, right?
No, it's not. I've kind of always sort of won races in that way before, and kind of, yeah, like when I was young, I made a name for myself for winning like that because I was smaller than everyone else and not strong, so I had to find other ways. And it's nice now that actually I was able to win swimming in such a big stage in the same way.
That particular moment, you've talked about the track itself, and there were a lot of sort of one single file moments. So when you were that close to the end, are you literally thinking it's now or never? If I don't take him here, I'm probably done and it's silver.
Yeah, that was the thing. I mean, there was probably only going to be one of those opportunities, and I had to not hesitate 1 millisecond if I was going to be able to get past him, because I knew once it got to the finish, he's probably he's a faster sprinter than me. So I probably wasn't going to be able to come round him in the last straight. So I knew that I would have to try and make the difference earlier on, and luckily the door opened for me.
Probably a few people watching you have only ever watched a couple of mountain biking races, which are Olympic ones, and think, oh, this bloke Pidcock never loses. But just explain, there's a little bit of contact, isn't there, as you make the overtake. What are the rulings as to what you can do, what you can't do, if you were ever worried for a moment whether...
Yeah, so well, I got in front, basically. It's not like I came from behind and crashed
Banged
into
him out of
him.
the way, yeah.
So I got in front and he tried to still defend, which is kind of like Formula One. If you're in front of the apex, it's your line. So yeah,
that was it. End of story.
End of story. Yeah.
And the moment when you crossed the line, and I think probably we can compare and contrast the difference of the Tokyo Games, which, look, any Olympic medal is so precious, but was there ever a sense of soullessness at Tokyo, that because it was so empty that it
we actually had
like this in front of a crowd?
We had 6,000 fans in Tokyo, but it was Japanese fans. There was no Japanese rider in the race, so it was kind of like there was no home country. Whereas in France it was mainly French fans. There was a few, maybe 1,000 British fans, or people maybe supporting me. But yeah, mainly it was French fans, and it was very different in that aspect because there was a home nation who I was racing against for the win.
Yeah, and I think it's probably fair to say got relatively feisty with the reaction of some of those French fans. Is that just something that you accept? I think probably maybe a reflection of how disappointed they were that their guy had been out in front for so long, and you picked him.
Yeah. I mean, so I finished, and the whole kind of crowd around the finish was booing, which they were booing me while I was racing, but then also at the finish, it kind of, there's no place for that in the Olympics, really. I think, of course, on the course, I kind of understand, but once everyone's finished, you should kind of respect everyone and, what they've done and gone, the lengths they've gone to try and to get in the best shape possible for the race, and that's the outcome of the race, and then you should kind of respect everyone. So it kind of put a bit of dampening on the... Did it
sadden you a little bit that, as you said, it carried on past the finish line?
It did a little bit. I mean, I couldn't celebrate with the fans, because they weren't celebrating with me. But no, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter to me. I came to win the medal, and to be fair, I gave him a chance, didn't I?
You certainly did, and you got your way back absolutely brilliantly. We talked earlier about the expectation of you going into a second Games. Is therefore the feeling when you crossed the line different? Was it more almost a tinge of relief when you get the job
for
done?
Sure, it was relief. Yeah, relief more than anything. I think it's just completely different. The first Games, if it was in 2020, I wouldn't have gone. 2021, I'd won some World Cups and things, but I was like an outsider in the sport. There was not really any expectation, but this time, with the expectation, with the build-up, with everything, it's like a different event almost, completely different running and feelings, everything. And also I didn't get to enjoy it because the race was so stressful.
And I guess always, despite the fact that you're overjoyed, there is always a little bit of something about the road race in the back of your mind. And I'm always really interested in Olympic cycles, pardon the pun, of you go so hard for 4 years, this time 3 years, that what happens at the end of that. So let's take the gap between the mountain biking and then the road race. Was it difficult to get yourself back up?
Oh, yeah, 100%. So for example, after Tokyo, I raced the Vuelta a España less than 3 weeks afterwards, and I could not reset myself. I could not get back into it. I couldn't do one effort session. I was riding my bike, but I couldn't train properly. I just mentally just didn't have it. But here, I think I grew up quite a lot. I managed to, it was my birthday the next day, so I just took the day with my family, did a little ride, and then that evening I was back with the team and focusing on diet and training again. But
birthday cake was limited, was it?
It was limited, but I still did enjoy a bit, yeah. So it is really difficult, especially that was my big goal. I said that I was going to that was my goal, and I was thinking about the road race afterwards and try and refocus and give it my best. But you know, there's only so much you can do, and in the road race I was not 100%. You know, just missing that little edge mentally. I was exhausted, I guess, and just missing that top end to really fight at the front of the race.
Yeah, and I guess that's the thing, isn't it? I think probably people misunderstand how tactically important it is in a road race, that if someone goes and you don't go with them, that can sort of be it sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. I think, well, tactically, I think I was not bad, but you know, when you miss the edge of the top end, to really be able to go that little bit deeper or be explosive, and that's you know, when you're a bit run down and it's been such a long, you know, 1% makes a massive difference at this level, and you can't hide that.
And given all that, do you always find it difficult, because you know you do, God knows how many interviews you've done between now and last Monday, that pretty much all of them will include the question, well, what's next? And you maybe just want a little bit of time to think, I'm a double Olympic champion, let's just enjoy that for at least a couple of days.
Yeah. No, well, you say asking all the questions, your questions are all really different to everyone else's.
Oh, I try my best, Tom.
Yeah. But what's next? I think in cycling it's in the middle of our season. We move on super fast. So, you know, I think I want to be at Mountain Bike World, which is in Andorra. So it's a home race for me. That's where I live. And then it would be really nice to race the Tour of Britain as well in this year. So I think, got definitely some nice races to look forward to.
When you look longer term into the future, there was an interview with Ed Clancy, a 3-time Olympic champion, the other day, who says you're the best rider in the world. Full stop. He qualified it a little bit, but that was what he said, which is some praise from a guy like Ed Clancy. What other ambitions are there then, looking further past this season?
Well, I think, you know, the Tour this year was really not how I wanted it to go. I started off sick with a stomach virus, and then just as I was getting back into the race, I got COVID and withdrew from the race. And it was always going to be super difficult with the Olympics straight after. So yeah, next year with no Olympics, with nothing afterwards, it would be really nice to see actually what is possible there with a finish line at the end of it.
Ever fancied the velodrome?
I was national champion on the velodrome when I was junior, on the scratch race. I still joke about that with Ethan Vernon. He's riding the Team Pursuit.
Yeah.
I beat him, so yeah.
So you fancy a bit of that?
No. I got PTSD from Team Pursuits for those points.
You might remember, although I'm sure they all blur into one, that you did an interview with my colleague Geraint, and there was some idiot in the studio who said, ask him about his dogs. That was me, because we have to see your dogs, Chestnut and Acorn. They are absolutely gorgeous, and I know you take them all around. Is that one of the best things, is to be reunited with those two at the end?
There they are, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You know, no matter what happens with in the race, whether it's good or bad, it's I always get the same greeting from those two, so they don't care what's happened. It puts you back down to reality a little bit.
Is that one of the nicest things they want to almost maybe get a bit out of their legs, is to take them on a decent long walk once you've finished a big race?
Yeah, well, they don't like to walk too far. They'll be stubborn and not want to walk, and then we'll have to carry them home. So, or if it's raining, they also won't go out.
This is a ridiculous question. Do you get a sense that they know what's happening when you're out there, particularly in an Olympic final?
I don't know. You have to ask my girlfriend more about that. Whether for example, if a cyclist come past, they'll look and is that Dad? No,
not Dad. Listen, thank you so much for spending so much time with us. Really appreciate it. And
thank you.
Congratulations. It's a heavy medal, but it's one you've earned perhaps more than anyone else. So thank you very much. Good luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you very much.